we're going to go out to the Verbo House where we have our Josh Pate and Bryant McFadden, who are comfortably situated. I hope when I get big in this business, I get to go to the Verbo House. These guys have thoughts on home field and just how much Atlanta is going to feel like home for Georgia. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, if it's anything for them like it is for us, I don't know, we get like 100-100 tie tomorrow because it does feel at home here. The folks at Verbo have treated us very well, but now BMAC, we got to transition. We've been having fun the past 48 hours, but we got a big game down the road in Mercedes-Benz Stadium tomorrow. Half of what we expected. Georgia's there, overwhelming preseason favorite, but man, what if I rolled the dice and told you in July, Brian Kelly, he's here at SEC Media Days, he'll be right back for the SEC Championship game. You would have said to me what?
Here come that lucky seven. Here comes the lucky seven, and that's what we've been able to witness with LSU, right? Doing the unthinkable, getting up to a slow start against Florida State, and then bouncing back. You know, being able to do things that many people didn't think they would be able to do, and do it extremely consistent. And because of that, and the play of their star quarterback Jayden Daniels, they're currently here in Atlanta playing for the SEC title.
You see on the screen there, they're a 17.5-point favorite are the Georgia Bulldogs. So they're a favorite for a reason. Let's briefly get into this game. And I kind of think about these big point spread games as what would have to happen for the upset to occur. We're going to pick the game in just a second. But I look at Georgia red zone defense. Phenomenal. Usually one of the top 5 units in the country, right there. They're the top of the country this year. And then I look at LSU, and we've got questions about the health of Jayden Daniels. Let's just assume, because we don't know otherwise, that he'll be healthy here. You remember last week we were watching Michigan, Ohio State, and we watched J.J. McCarthy just boom, boom, boom over the top. Explosive plays, 5 of them accounted for like 35 points for them. I really think if LSU is going to put serious dents in the scoreboard, 7s instead of 3s, if they're going to get this to the fourth quarter where it's anyone's game, they've got to score 7s via the explosive play. I'm not necessarily sure that I trust them or really any offense to get down in the red zone and pound away and have a lot of success against Georgia. And the other thing, even before we get to explosive plays, is just the outright health of Jayden Daniels.
And that's the issue that I have in regards to LSU. If Jayden Daniels is not at least 90%, it's going to be a long day for LSU because he's meant so much to their offense, not just throwing the football as their star quarterback, but also in regards to running the football. He's been one of the more consistent rushers throughout the entire year. So you talk about how important he has been to LSU. If he's limping into this ball game, yes, their offense will limp for 4 quarters.
That number's big, B-Mac, 17.5. It's one thing to pick Georgia to win. I wasn't prepared to pick them to do both. So by the slimmest of margins, I think LSU will end up covering the spread. And ironically, them covering could come in a very comfortable Georgia win. We've seen Georgia a couple of times this year when they know they've got a team out in the deep end and that team can't swim with them. They're happy to take the air out of the ball, and that equals shortened games, and that equals time running off the clock, and that equals Georgia being comfortable scoring 26, 29, 30 points. I'm going to go 31-16. Georgia wins this, and I cash an LSU ticket. Good season for Brian Kelly and the boys, but Georgia goes on to the college football playoff.
Well, for me, I hate to be on the opposite side in regards to betting, but I'm taking Georgia covering this spread, and here's why. The last time we saw Georgia play in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, it was week 1 against Oregon, right? And it feels like they're still scoring touchdowns on the Ducks' defense.
I don't like where this is going.
Right? The Ducks didn't quack at all that Saturday, week 1. So I feel like the momentum, knowing that this will be a home-like atmosphere for Georgia, that's in their favor. Not to mention the health, the concerns in regards to LSU's quarterback, Jayden Daniels. If he is not healthy, like I said, I didn't say 70%, 85%. He needs to be at least 90% to be able to be successful against the defense he's going against that has so many pros on all 3 levels. I don't think he will be 90%. So with that being said, if they can't score, if he's not healthy, they won't be productive. Not to mention Stetson Bennett, call him the mailman. He will be delivering a lot of mail around 5 to 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. Saturday. He will be cashing in big time. So I have the score set at 40-17. Yes, and that ticket that I've already put in will cash in big time around 7 p.m. Eastern.
You had to bring up that Oregon game, did you?
Sorry.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to the Big Ten Championship game. You know, there was a talking point this time last year. Feels a lot like this year. Michigan had just gotten a big win over the rival Ohio State. First time in a long time. Then they go to the Big Ten Championship game. They're going to face Iowa. Oh, is there going to be a letdown? And just trucked them, splattered them all over the place. So this year, do the same thing, just in another building to Ohio State. They go to the Big Ten Championship again. Lost Blake Corum for the season, which they didn't even have him active for the Ohio State game. and now they got Purdue. 8-4 Purdue. Why? Well, basically because the rules state the Big Ten West had to send somebody.
Got to send somebody.
The number on this game is 17 right now. I'll toss it to you the same kinds of ways that we went through that game. Is there a shot at an upset? If it were to happen, take a guess. How would it happen?
There's a shot because it's football. Anything can happen, right? We know that. We got to keep it real. I'm sorry for the Boilermaker fans that are tuning in and watching us. I'm giving you a little glimmer of hope. But with that being said, I'm stepping on that hope right now. They don't have a chance, even without Blake Corum. One thing that I realized last week for J.J. McCarthy, not having his star quarterback, he gained a lot of confidence against the Buckeyes. That offense was rolling. We saw the explosive plays, running the football through the air. Defensively, we know how stout the Wolverines defense has been the entire year. And as you mentioned, Josh, for sake of argument, they had to send somebody from the West. And it just so happened to be Purdue. So I'm taking Michigan. Final score I have is 31-10. Wolverines, Harbaugh, take care of business.
And look, let's just say, as we specify, that Purdue has no shot. With all due respect to the Boilermakers, of course.
Yes.
Far be it for us to be disrespectful, but you're right, they got no shot here. And here's the other thing. Some of these teams that you talk about, not you specifically, but a lot of the more casual crowd out there talks about teams in letdown mode. That's the kind of stuff you say in week 6 or week 7. Like when you've gotten this deep in the season and you still got a goose egg in the loss column. That's called downhill momentum. Like you've been on teams with this before at both levels. And when you have that, it feels like you can do no wrong. It feels like you're going to have to screw things up because they're not going to take the game from you, so just do your job.
We had a saying in Pittsburgh when I played with the Steelers. Around December time, either you're thriving or surviving.
Boom.
And this Michigan team, they're thriving.
Yeah, and Purdue's going to really struggle to survive tomorrow. Give me 38-17. That's a big number, but I like Michigan to win, and I like them to cover. So then we shift it down to Arlington, Texas. This is the first game on the schedule Saturday. It's a noon Eastern kickoff there in Jerry World. And we got TCU, Kansas State. We've already seen them play in the Metroplex, no less. And I was at another game this year. And so I look up at the scoreboard and I see, oh, man, Kansas State's putting it on TCU, 28-10. Check that one in the win column. And then I see the score later that night, 38-28 TCU. I say, that's got to be a typo. It wasn't a typo.
It wasn't a typo.
Horned Frogs, 28-0 run to close that game.
Sounds like a basketball game, right?
So then your Kansas State folks rightfully would say, yeah, Josh, but we lost our quarterback. We lost Adrian Martinez, the same Adrian Martinez that was out when they blew Oklahoma State out. So anyway, I present all that as the backdrop. TCU's favored by 2.5 here. How do we see this one playing out?
Give me Max Duggan, one of the hottest quarterbacks in college football. Nobody is talking about. So I'm going to put some respect on Max Duggan's name. I like TCU. Talk about being able to come from behind. The first meeting with Kansas State. But get this, we won't see that in this ball game because they will get off to a fast start. That's the unique thing about TCU the entire season and why they're undefeated currently, because how they get off. They get off to a fast start. They play with a sense of urgency. I love what they do offensively. Of course, you have a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,200-yard rusher. Defensively on all three levels, they flow to the football. They play what I call ant defense. Have you ever seen some ants around street crumbs?
Sure, I do it all the time.
You see how they just go to the crumbs, and everywhere you have 1,000 ants just swarming to the crumbs. That's what they do on the defensive side in regards to swarming to the football. So I have TCU taking care of business. Final score, 26-14 in favor of the Horned Frogs.
You know, this is the one a lot of people's eyeballs are on. A lot of the chaos agents out there
No
rooting
question.
for a Kansas State win. And not just that, but a comfortable Kansas State win because there is a train of thought. I don't know if I'm necessarily on board with it, but there's a train of thought that says if Kansas State wins this thing big, forget about USC falling out.
No.
Maybe USC and TCU fall out. Where are you on that?
If Kansas State wins big, Kansas State just played spoiler.
Yeah.
They're not getting in the top 4.
What happens to TCU?
They're out.
They are out.
Unfortunately. They don't really care about they don't respect the Big 12, unfortunately. I respect the Big 12. So all you schools out in the Big 12, if you ever want to invite me to a dinner, you can, because I've been showing you guys love the entire year. But the committee, they don't. And my word doesn't hold any weight in regards to who gets into the playoffs. So if you guys lose, TCU, Big 12, you're on the outside looking in.
They do feed you very well out there. I can account for that.
Thank
Look, give me 37-31 TCU. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but if it is, you got us on record there. Let's go out tonight, just in a few hours, to the Pac-12, Las Vegas. Some of you don't know they play that championship game there now. It's in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And so you can call that a home field for whoever you want to. USC falls by 1 earlier this year on the road to Utah. One of the most horribly officiated games we've seen in the entire college football season. Hopefully we don't have that repeated tonight. Where are we going in this one?
Oh, I'm sorry, Trojans. Fight on, right? Fight on. They will fight tonight, but they won't fight on tonight. Give me the Utes. I'm taking Utah to stir up some mess in the college football playoff brackets. And here's why. You talked about the first meeting. Both teams scored 40 points. I can't remember the exact score, but it was a 2-point conversion that led to the victory for Utah. Cameron Rising played outstanding football. The same can be said for Caleb Williams. But the reason why I'm taking Utah in this matchup tonight is all about which defense do you trust more? I trust the defense coming from Utah. I love both quarterbacks. I think both quarterbacks will play on Sunday. But in regards to getting timely stops, give me the Utes being able to do that. And I understand this is not March Madness. It's not basketball. But the first bracket buster will happen tonight in Viva Las Vegas. Outstanding place, by the way.
Yeah.
I love going there. Yeah.
So this is the game earlier this year where Utah had a tight end haul in 16 catches in one game. Not a season now. That's a good season for some tight ends. One game. I do not think Dalton Kincaid will duplicate that stat line tonight. I do think it's going to be a 4-quarter game, though. Here's the difference.
What you got?
I got to watch Caleb Williams in person a couple of weeks ago.
So you're a little biased.
I just don't think there's a player playing at a higher level right now.
You're a little biased.
A lot biased, actually. So I heart Caleb Williams, and therefore, I don't know if I heart USC, but I'm rolling with them. 30-26 is my final, and that puts the Trojans in the playoff. And B-Mac, that kind of gets us to really ping-ponging right back to what you just said. If USC falls, I assume that means you have Ohio State in the playoff?
Ohio! That's what they say.
Yeah, they do. Not so much last week, but in general.
They didn't say it last week. But thank you, Buckeye fans. Yes, USC taking an L tonight in Las Vegas opens the door for the Buckeyes and their band to dot the I to get into the playoffs. I said it. I want to stir up some mess, and it happens tonight. Utah will take care of their business against USC, and the first chaos will be talked about around 1 a.m. Eastern.
So we got pillows with the Verbo logo all around here, and I want you to grab one because this is going to be really boring. I'm going to put you to sleep. Georgia's going to make it?
Yes.
Michigan's going to make it. TCU's going to make it. And guess who else is going to make it? USC. So you're saying 1 through 4 right now?
You went chalk.
Yeah, I might as well be a third-grade teacher because I really don't think there's going to be a whole lot of drama. Look, I want it to be fun for you guys. But I can't bring myself to do it. And so there you go. Either way now, that Pac-12 championship game I think should be a classic and a great table setter for what should be a phenomenal conference championship weekend. We're going to have some fun here in Atlanta. You guys have fun there at the desk. Back to you.
We learned a lot about B-Mac there. He likes to stir the pot.
He loves
Vegas.
chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, and he
loves Vegas.
Loves Vegas, and he's trying to go out to dinner with the Big 12.
Yeah, he wants
to go on a date
to take him out for dinner.
Yes. All right, and you can catch B-Mac and Josh Pate. They both have their own little projects out there. You can hear Josh Pate on Late Kick with Josh Pate on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can watch that live on YouTube and Facebook, and then you can catch B-Mac alongside his cousin Patrick Peterson on the All Things Covered podcast.
Controversial podcast.
Yeah, there's been some drama and exchange of words, if you will, with Pat P and Kyler Murray. They're diving into that on the latest episode. You can download and listen wherever you get your podcasts or scan that QR code.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.